former President Jacob Zuma and leader of the MK party will be addressing the media. Coming to us live from there is Samkele Maseko, SABC political reporter. Samkele, good evening. Thank you so much. This briefing was meant to start at 2 o'clock. We then received another statement from the party issued through President Zuma's daughter, Dudu, who then told us that it has been moved to 4 p.m. because President Zuma had been attending a church service. 4 p.m. is now come and gone. In fact, it's now after 5 p.m. and the president is yet to arrive and address. Do we have any idea about what has caused the latest delay and when the president might start speaking?
Well, Oliver, at this point in time, we are told by the spokesperson of the MK party, Mr. Nhlamulo Ndhlela, that former President Jacob Zuma is 10 minutes away. In fact, I am going to bring in Mr. Ndhlela now just to essence to speak. Mr. Ndhlela, where is former President Jacob Zuma? You said 2 o'clock press briefing, statement you issued, you moved it to 4 o'clock. We'd assume that he's on his way now?
Indeed, President Zuma, as we mentioned, was attending a church service which was planned 2 weeks in advance. So because of the urgency, naturally, of what is happening in the political situation in the country, we had to make sure that we hold this press briefing, especially on June 16. And President Zuma is 5 minutes away. He will obviously be addressing us and the nation more so on the outcome of the elections, what MK's position is, and going forward, taking into consideration the political situation in the country.
Are you challenging the outcomes of the elections as not free and fair at the electoral court?
Oh, absolutely. We've stated that these elections were certainly not fair. They were unfair. And there's a lot of discrepancies and fraud and vote rigging. So we say that these elections were a total sham, and by virtue of that, we are challenging them, in the electoral court. We've submitted papers, we've got overwhelming evidence, and that was overlooked by the IEC when they rushed into declaring the election results. So we are pursuing that matter regardless of what they stand or what they say.
When you look at the composition of the provincial legislatures, your members of provincial legislatures were sworn in last week Friday in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal and other provinces. Will your full contingent of members of the NCOP and ultimately the National Assembly be sworn in despite you challenging the outcomes of the elections?
Well, that's the purpose of us having this presser, isn't it? So you wait and hear if you're interested to know what the way forward will be. But as you know, the provincial legislation, has obviously taken place in terms of swearing in. NCOP members as well have been sworn in, and that's where we're at.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nhlamulo Ndhlela. So in 5 minutes, former President Jacob Zuma will be seated and addressing.
No, in 5 minutes, President Zuma will be here.
In fact, I think they're opening the doors. I think the former president is in essence arriving now. As you can see there, my colleague Nhlamulo will show you there, Shomla rather will show you there that they've just opened the doors. The former president of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, will ultimately be coming in any moment from now. We did see the Secretary General of the MK party, Arthur Zwane, who is also here. In fact, they are taking the former president to the holding rooms. He is there. He is going to the holding rooms where the legal team that will be representing the MK party that is led by Advocate Dalimpofu. I did see him earlier on yesterday here. One would also assume that he will also be leading the MK party. They were with the leadership of the party earlier on. So the press briefing will ultimately begin any moment from now, as the leader of the MK party has ultimately arrived. You can also see in the visuals, my colleague will show you Shomla now, the former Secretary General of the ANC who now leads his own party ACT is also here. You can also see the daughter and member of parliament of former President Jacob Zuma, Tutuzile Zuma. As you can see, she is also here. She is a member of the MK party and a member of the National Assembly of this particular organization.
And of course, as soon as that begins, we will cross back over to Samkele Maseko. But Samkele, if I still have you, perhaps to ask this, you noted that the legal representatives routinely being Dalimpofu of the MK party is present over there. However, it couldn't help but be noticeable in the papers filed by the MK party that they've had a change of attorneys. It is not the usual law firm that represents them in their regular matters. A different law firm seems to have drafted these papers, and of course Natin Mhleko is the person whose name the founding affidavit is in. It might be a very innocuous change there, but I couldn't help but notice that. Is there any indication there that there has been a change in legal team, in legal strategy, and overall in the approach?
It's not yet clear what is the approach, but we do know that former President Jacob Zuma has a particular legal firm and advocates that he usually chooses for his particular legal cases. We don't know if there is a particular change strategy, but you've also come to understand that MK Party is an entity on its own, and that would have its own legal representatives that it chooses to utilize for any particular legal matter. But just to show you other leaders that are here, you can see the leader of SARA, who is also here, Colleen Makubela, who has also been part of those who have been disputing these particular outcomes of these elections. You can see a representative of the ATM. You can also see the leader of that particular party of the African Transformation Movement as ATM. You can also see the actor of Ace Mahashule. He's also representing his own particular organization. So on the issue of the legal team, it's not yet clear why the MK Party chose to choose a particular different legal team in this instance, and not to use the usual legal team that former President Jacob Zuma usually uses.